What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card CEO, the official collectibles podcast of justbaseball.com. Well, guys, I want to say thanks to everybody who has been chiming in, listening to the podcast. Little Matt and I had the opportunity to go to a sports card show up in Raleigh this weekend. Multiple people on the show floor stop us and just say, hey, man, love what you guys are doing with the show. I'm listening every week. People asking all kinds of questions. So I really love the fact that the show's getting some traction, but more importantly, that people are getting value out of what we're doing. It's just huge. That's why we started it, and so it's getting affirmation. That's cool.
Gary, I want an update on your week and weekend, because I feel like you've been an absolute madman. Like, you've just been like,
I'll tell you what's going on.
I don't know what's going on with
I didn't have baseball this weekend. So when you don't have baseball for a weekend and you've been travel balling since February, every given moment of every weekend, man, we had a little spring cleaning at the house. We cleaned up the house. We cleaned up outside. We get all the to-do list. And so all I did in my free time was just buy.
You're like texting me non-auto refractors or like in nines. You're like, is this a good buy? I'm sitting there like my hands full at the freaking zoo, and you're like, I'm like, I don't know,
Come
dude.
on,
like,
that wasn't a normal
come
non-auto.
on, man.
That was a good non-auto. Come on.
It was a good one. It was a red, so it was good, and it was a good play.
Man, I've been buying a little bit of everything, but mainly 25 Bowman still. I have narrowed my list down to this group of 6 or 7 guys, and for some reason, I just continue to love those 6 or 7 guys a lot. Like, I've had to ask myself the other day, like, am I buying this guys because it's new? And so I've been diving deep into the data and graphs and diving into the numbers, and I think I like these guys because they're really, really good. And I think where their value's at right now for this release, even though some of the values have been like Mate, I don't love his value, but a lot of these other guys, I love their value, where they're at. If they become the players they can be, I think there's just some value here. So I've been buying a lot of them and just picking off the guys I still love. Guys like Braden Montgomery. I love Braden Montgomery. I'm buying all the Braden Montgomery I can get my hands on. Bryce Rayner. Buying all the Bryce Rayner I can get my hands on. Connor Griffin. I mean, so I've kind of narrowed my list down now to 10 or 12 guys, and honestly, 5 to 7 of them are in this new release that I really love.
Yeah. It kind of always happens that way. Like at the beginning of a release, 25 Bowman, like let's say in this case, you kind of, at least for me, I pinpointed my guys that I liked, right? And then it kind of changes somewhat because you see where their value's at, right? Like I love Mate as a prospect, right? I don't love him nearly as much because of his prices. Like it's just, in my mind, he's a freak, but there's zero room for growth. Like I would take Luis Pena all day at 5 times less. Like it just makes no sense to me when you compare Mate's numbers versus a Leo or even a Connor for that matter. So that like naturally changes who I go after. And then you see guys' values that are just completely, that should be higher in my mind, and they're not. So, I mean, I'm kind of with Gary. Gary's going over to the roulette table and putting big stacks on every color and every number, right? And, that's Gary's game, man. He buys the good stuff of the guys that he likes, and he's just going and playing that game. I respect it. I'm a little more targeted and probably not spending nearly as much as Gary is, and I'm a little more conservative in that respect, but I don't consider myself a conservative person. So Gary, good job, man. You made me feel like I am
well, I'm sitting here wondering what you're saying, right? I'm like, who is this guy today? Because Kern is he's keeping me aggressive, to be honest. I feel like you've been more aggressive than me, but I think maybe in the last week, 10 days, I think I've hit the gas, I will say.
Yeah. What have you done for me? What have you done lately? And lately, it feels like you're
I think one of the reasons that I'm super aggressive is I took about a month where I just felt like I was unsure about this market again. I was unsure, is this going to continue? Is Bowman going to continue? And guys, to be honest, we are in June now. The fact that baseball is still grooving like it is, this is phenomenal. Like as a baseball card collector, as someone that's doing this day in and day out right now, we couldn't ask for a better thing that's going on right now. I mean, repackers want in this, celebrities want in it, players want in it, everybody wants in it right now. It's to me, it's just a lot of fun right now. I'm having a lot of fun.
I think we're coming up on a big test right here for the baseball market, Bowman specifically. Jack Caglione called up yesterday, right? I think it's a huge test of how this market is going to react based on if he succeeds right away or if he struggles. Because we saw how the market reacted to Jackson Holiday coming up and struggling. We saw how the market reacted to Wyatt Langford coming up and, I don't want to say struggle, but like he struggled. Everybody was had these big expectations of him coming out and hitting bombs. He didn't hit a home run for like his first 2 months of the year. And I think that happening with those two guys, in my opinion, scared a lot of people. And the market went soft for a little while because I think people got burned with that. So I think the Jack call up, with Jack's market being as strong as it is going to be a really interesting test to the market and how, if it could, sustain where it's at right now, because a lot of people are heavily invested in him.
We've got a great call in to that. We've got a call in about call ups, and so we'll definitely listen to that here in a second. It's funny, I hear you guys talking, and it's like, here's Gary Kern, and then it's like down here, like I feel like the most conservative dude on the show, and it's so funny because we've got 2 grading orders out right now, which is probably the largest 2 grading orders we've ever had. And we went after 25 Bowman, the highest that we've ever gone after any release, And it's like this weekend, I'm sitting there at the card show, and there's no Bowman on the floor for the most part. I mean, there's like a purple Ronald Acuna, first Bowman auto. I saw a Ronald Acuna refractor. But, dude, you don't see Judge. You don't see Shohei. You don't see that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't. And on the prospect side, you really don't see guys until they start to peter off a little bit, because everybody is holding it. Everybody's playing the game. And so when you have access to the goods and you have the inventory, most of the Bowman stuff is being done either in private deals or, on these marketplaces, these auction houses. And we'll talk about that, here later in the show. But, for Matthew and I, we actually, I wrestle, man, because I hear you guys talking about buying cards and sitting on them 6 months and sitting on them a year or sitting on them 2 years or whatever. That's never been our MO. And I don't have it in me to keep doing that. I just don't. So we continue to stay quick with guys. And the one caveat to that is, what we'll do is we'll go out and buy 6 or 8 cards of a guy. We'll sell off 5 or 7 of them and then keep one. And I can hold that long term because I know my net cost into that card's next to nothing. We've done that with Walker. We've done that with Basayo. We've done that with Walcott. We've done that with Xavier Isaac. We've done that with some guys. And it's fun now to see Xavier Isaac absolutely crushing the baseball after we sold out of most of his stuff before he kind of hit the floor. And now seeing it kind of come back a little bit. So that's kind of been more of our strategy. And this week's no different. I mean, we're waiting on this big PSA order to pop. I mean, we could get crushed or we could do pretty well. I mean, we've got, I think, 5 or 6 Pinas out there. We've got 3 Mates. We've got Weather Holt. We've got nice Condon. And so it'll be a really good week coming up for Ham House, or we might just get the humble pie. So I'm kind of anxious to see.
Good luck.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It feels like it's getting harder and harder to gym stuff. So we'll see here soon. But I want to listen to this call in here, guys. It'll kind of trigger our conversation as we talk about the Caglione call up and all that kind of stuff. So this is from Raja, a longtime listener. He's left us a couple messages. This one was good for today.
Hey guys, this is Raja Subramani from California calling, Santa Barbara, California. I've left a message before. I'm a longtime listener, poster on a bunch of your different forums, and also done some communications through Instagram and done some transactions with a few of you guys as well. Anyhow, I'm calling just because you guys do great work. Really excited about the work you're doing, and thanks again for everything you do. Question for you regarding Mariners prospects: Lázaro Montes, Colt Emerson, Feldman, Celestin, and Cole Young are the guys that are most interesting to me. I'm a Mariners fan. Big fan of Cole Young. Really excited about what he's doing at Tacoma right now. Struggled in April rather. But man, he's turned it on in May. He's just hitting the lights out of the ball. Looking like a call-up's happening pretty soon. There's a whole bunch of reasons it looks like. Want to get your guys' take though on him as a prospect. I know Aram has done a great deep dive on them from Just Baseball, but I'm curious what you guys think, and more importantly from the card market standpoint. So anyhow, keep up the great work. Love everything you guys are doing, and hope to hear more from you guys real soon. Talk to you soon. Bye.
So Cole Young came out of the 22 Bowman draft product. He was a redemption in that product. He was very, very hard to hit, and you did not see a lot of his big color stuff surface immediately. I know because we chased him pretty heavily. What ended up happening, though, I looked back. Shortly after that window of draft releasing, a PSA 10 orange Cole Young did $3,300. Okay?
Yep.
That's the largest sale, the highest sale of the orange. In October of last year, after he had struggled a little bit throughout the minor league system and so forth, that same orange did $800.
Wow.
He got called up this past week, as Raja kind of was alluding to, and I think he went 1 for 4, but his one was an infield single that scored the game-winning run, so it was a walk-off. Take a guess at what his orange PSA 10 did. So 3K's the peak, 800's the floor. What do you think his orange just did?
$1,900.
I was wondering if you're going to do it.
Sets you up. Sets you up. It's 1,900. We had talked about it before the show. 1,900, but it had done 1,300 the week before that, and then 1,900. So you see how the call up does affect the pricing, right? On a product, on a prospect. But then you compare that to Caglione, whose orange is doing 20K at call up. So
Well,
let's
first
just
off,
open the table. What do you guys
I want to
think?
answer his question, which his question was, how do we feel about the value of Cole Young, Zara Montes, Celestin, and Emerson? To answer his question on Cole Young, and I'm going to say this in a way that I think I hope is meaningful. When a guy is batting 270 in the minors repetitively, year after year, and he's doing it with 10 home runs, roughly average, and 500 plate appearances, time and time and time again, and he's got 10 to 15 home run pop, he's got 20 stolen bases, and he's knocking in 60 RBIs, I just don't see that translating into value long term. And so my answer to your question is ride the hype, ride the wave, and sell a wave. Because I don't see that as being a guy. I could be wrong. Maybe Cole Young smacks me in the face. He hits 30 bombs in the majors, but I just don't see it. I don't see anything on paper that tells me that a guy like Cole Young, who we just talked about Trey Turner the other day and his orange at $700 or $800, that Cole Young's even going to be close to Trey Turner. So in the long run. So my answer to that is if he's got any kind of level of hype, you sell into that hype. And to go to the other players you're talking about, just quickly to answer your question, Lazaro's got off the charts power. Probably a Yordan Alvarez comp, maybe a little better if you want to think about values there, if he ends up being that. Colt Emerson of the group and Celestin, the thing about Celestin is he's young, but here's the thing I like about the Celestin market. Nobody sells it. And when you've got a market of people that are holding it to that level, supply and demand will all be there. So I love Felnin because of that. And I think Emerson, the jury's still out there. But that's my opinion on those players. And I know y'all got some feedback on that as well.
Yeah, no, I don't have I think you did a good job, kind of giving the take on those guys. Pretty similar. I think the Mariners are really deep from a prospect standpoint, and it feels like every release they have somebody to overshadow the next guy. And, I think Colt Emerson is probably my favorite prospect out of all those guys. I would just like to see him stay healthy, but I think he's the most talented. I think Celestin could work his way there, and I think a lot of people are holding Celestin because at release of 23 Chrome, his prices were just through the roof. It was him, Vargas, and Ethan Salas, where Embassio was once again forgotten about. I think his prices were just so through the roof that people are just holding because they have to wait for that to, they have no choice.
Well, the other thing, too, that's really interesting about this whole deal is Gary talked about the hype, and Kern, you just alluded to it as well, as the price out of the product. Rarely do you see a guy come out of the product high, stay high through debut, and stay high through his performance. I mean, it's very, very rare. The Caglione is one of those guys who he was high coming out, he stayed high, and now he's high at debut, and it's kind of like, where do you go from here? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the question, right? And that's why I was kind of giving it an analogy to Wyatt Langford, because they both spent short periods of time in the minor leagues. They were, they both came out hot out of the gates of the product wise from a value perspective. And I remember I'd made an offer on on a Red Wave PSA 10 for it was something crazy, like 16K, and it was rejected. You know what I mean? That's how wild the market was. And he performed in the minors for the short period. He crushed in spring training, right? Hit 9 home runs in spring training. And then it was off the races once he made his prices obviously dropped from where they were at because of his performance, but they're still expensive. Now, time will let's see where Caglione's market goes, and I think it's contingent upon how he comes out. And how long of a period does he have, for the market to either settle down or skyrocket once again?
Gary, you had talked about this kind of pre-show, about this idea of window, the window of buying and selling a prospect at call up. Talk about that a little bit.
So let me hit on this first, because I'm convicted on this. We're here again for you guys to hopefully save you money and make you money. We're not always going to be right, but I think that this is important to say. He could be I think he's going to be a great Major League Baseball player. Okay, he could be great. What are the chances that Caglione is as good as Freddie Freeman? Okay, so we got to look at values here. And if Jack Caglione becomes Freddie Freeman, I bet he hopes that he becomes Freddie Freeman, right? Is that a fair assessment? That'd be a hell of a career, right? If you could become Freddie Freeman, then his values would get to where they were today. Okay, his values are trading like he is Freddie Freeman today. Okay, so reality tells me this, that if you're at Caglione values today and you're holding a lot of him, you should be selling him, because the upside over the next 10 to 15 years probably gets you to where he's at today if he plays as a Hall of Famer, okay, at first base. First base is not a position that generally trades on the market. Look at Pete Alonso, who's a great player, doesn't trade all that high. So my opinion, number one, on Caglione is I think he's a good player, that he's going to have a good career, but do yourself a favor, and if you want to buy and you just want Cags later on, wait for the drop, because it will come. But I just want to say in general on the show, because I'm gonna beat this drum. Like, I love looking at past performances of players or ceilings that are available in the type of player that's there. What Bobby Witt and Ellie and some of these guys have done for the Bowman spaces, they've given us new ceilings, right? They've given us new ceilings for those type of players, right? Ronald Acuna Jr.'s, Juan Soto's. It's the people that have that kind of talent and flash. It's very positional heavy at times. And so I think Cags, again, I think just my advice there is be very careful if you own a lot of them, and I'd be selling some of them for sure. But to go back to like debuting, the debut, I guess, is today, right? It happened last night. It'll be tonight that he'll debut. I mean, we talked about this a little bit pre-show for just a second, and I'm interested to get y'all's take here, because I think the industry has changed in this regard. 2 years ago, you waited till call up. That's when you made your money, right? Now, if you don't have something actively on eBay at the call up, or something that just hit that timing in line with the call up, then they have to have an Ellie De La Cruz type call up to make a lot of money on that player. Meaning, to my knowledge, Ellie is really the only one that stands out to me on call up in recent memory that just crushed it coming out. It's been the last guy. Everybody else has had kind of an okay start, or they've floundered. Look at Marcelo Mayer. I love Marcelo Mayer. He's not killing it, right? He's not sucking, but look at Nick Kurtz, more recent memory. Kurtz is getting it going now until he got injured, but he struggled, out front. And everybody acts like these guys suck. They collected them all the way up like they were great players, and they don't come out and just bash Major League pitching right away, and they suck. So the reality is, though, perception is reality in this game. And so the perception now is if a guy doesn't bang it right away, his values are going to get crushed. So where the buying window may be on some of these guys is wait till everybody says, oh, CAG sucks, and come in and buy him at $5,000 if you believe in it. Because when he does bang it the second time through, like my boy James Wood, then the value comes to the guys that perform.
Well, I was going to say PCA is kind of the same way. Like, he debuted, and there wasn't like a ton of pop. You know what I mean? Gunner was the same way. He debuted, kind of fell back. You know what I mean? All of these, like, there is a real trend in the hobby right now for those who are on the analytics side, is you're getting this early build with the hype, and that is the fear of missing out. Everybody's got to scoop the cards up super early, and then they're going to fall off because performance in the minor leagues can't sustain it. Then it's going to see a short little bump at debut. Then it's going to kind of hit the floor, and then the dust settles out, and the true stars kind of rise back up. But the thing is playing that whole window. It's to your point about Freddie Freeman. I just thought about a guy like Josh Hamilton, right? Like, dude, Josh Hamilton, I actually played against him. The longest ball I ever think I gave up on a home run was to Josh Hamilton. We were 15 years old. It still hasn't landed. And he smiled at me as he rounded
Let's
third base.
have him on the show. See if he rememers that home run.
Yeah. Dude, but he murdered baseballs, right? And was an MVP one year, but like not a sustainable long-term career, unlike Freddie Freeman, who, has had a long-term career. And you look at these guys like Cags, left-handed hitters who just pulverize baseballs, and then you think about like their long-term potential. So you have to look at this within these windows. And I think that, to your point, 90% of prospects at debut, they're getting a ton of eyes on them. And you have to be willing to capitalize on that, and then have the conviction and the stones to go back out and buy a guy in that sophomore slump kind of thing. And that's tough.
And you look at a guy like that has the opposite. Like Evan Carter came up in a pennant race, right? And had immediate success. And it was like, holy crap. And everybody bought in, and then he got injured, and, the market went down. And so there's guys like that too. So yeah, I agree with you, Gary, though. Be careful with Cags.
An analogy here, and I got to look at this now, and y'all can murder me here, you too, if you think I'm wrong. But if you're going to buy the stocks, if you're going to buy a stock, you're either buying a stock that's already there and it's an established stock, or you're going to buy one you think is going to rise. So I look at prospects like a stock, okay? If I could go in and buy Luis Pena, okay? Let's just use Luis Pena. And I think Luis Pena is going to be Google stock, okay? And I think Luis Pena's got that kind of potential, right? Google is a stalwart stock. Everybody wants to own Google stock. There it is, the Luis Pena Super. And I think that he could be Google. And he's trading at Bing prices because Bing sucks. Then I want that. I got upside, right? I got upside to get to Google's prices, right, on the stock market. But if I got to go buy Jack Caglione and I got to pay Google prices, I think he's going to be Google, but he's already trading there. Why am I buying him unless I'm just straight flipping him in and out to make money a couple $100 here or there?
Well, so it's the idea of store of value. I love the conversation in investing about store of value, right? Whether it's gold, whether it's silver, whether it's crypto, whether it's cards, whether it's art, whether it's antique cars, whatever, like store of value. Like people are literally buying assets to hold value. They're not really concerned they go up. They're not really concerned they go down. They just know that this is where I'm going to set some of my money. And I think that's happening with cards. You have this thing where there are some people, especially with like vintage, it's like they're putting their money into cards as a store of value. And we benefit from that because that's what holds these high prices that gets everybody excited. And so we trade underneath on the fluctuations when the store of value is really what is, kind of holding the market steady. And so to me, you look at like a Judge or a Shohei as a store of value type player, you know what I mean? And you look at these prospects as the penny stock or the whatever. But to your point, Gary, it's really, really tough to consider a young player.
100%. The way I look at a store of value is, again, if I could go buy, and I'm using him again, and I don't want to use my favorite player here because I don't want to give him away. He's my favorite player in this release, but I'm going to use Luis Pena. I do love Luis Pena. But if I can buy a Luis Pena orange for $2,000, let's just call it $2,000, okay? I don't know if that's the actual value today because I haven't bought a lot of his oranges. I think you guys have gobbled them up, unfortunately. But let's say I could buy him at $2,000. And Luis Pena becomes what we think he could become, right? We all agree we think he's going to be really, really good, right? Kern, you got me on the wagon. I believe now. Okay, you got me on the wagon. So let's say that he becomes what we think he could become. That card could easily be a $10,000 graded. Could easily be a $12,000 card. So to me, if I'm going to store some value, it's like I'm storing some chips. Y'all said, well, man, you buy everything. Well, I'm storing a couple acorns over here on Luis Pena. I'm storing a couple over here on Slade Caldwell. I'm going to store some acorns over here, right? I'm not storing any acorns on Jack Caglione right now because I don't want to lose my acorns.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying there. And that's, the challenge then becomes like how long you're going to hold. Right? Like, are you committed to the hold? And at what point in time do you look at your
you hit the nail on the
return?
head. You've got to be able to have the stones, if you get in these guys, to say, I'm either going to take it to fruition, or you better have a system built in there to go every so often, every month or quarter or whatever, I'm going to sit down there and I'm just going to say, do I still love this guy? And I never will forget this. Somebody told me that a long time ago in the stock market. A guy named Phil Town. Okay, I don't know who he is in the stock market. He said, I will never sell a stock if I still love the company. The day that I don't love the company, I sell it. And that's got to be the same way on prospects. If you ever stop feeling like, man, I loved Cole Young when he was coming up because I thought he had this, but now I see the exit, you hit the exits when you get the opportunity, right? That's what you're doing. You're looking for the opportunity to run at the exit if you're not convicted. But if Connor Griffin right now, I would get a Connor Griffin tattoo on my lower back because I believe in him that much. So that could change. I might want to take that tattoo off. But right now, I love Connor Griffin.
They call it the performance stamp.
Connor, I love you.
Yeah. I'd love to see the Connor Griffin tattoo.
I wonder where you're going with
right
that.
on your back shoulder.
Back shoulder.
Yeah.
KG,
A
baby.
little tramp stamp
Speaking
for,
of Connor Griffin.
of Connor Griffin.
Yeah.
We got
Speaking
3
of Connor
Reds.
Griffin.
I love that guy. Love that guy. Love Connor Griffin, baby.
Speaking of
Love
Connor Griffin. Did any of them dime?
Yeah, well, we went BGS, all of them. So 1 9.5 and two 9s.
That's one thing that's been interesting about this release as well, is like I personally have not seen as much true color as in past releases. I feel like the true color has been drip, 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 and almost like behind the scenes, which kind of leads us to this idea of these public platforms, eBay, Fanatics Collect, Golden Auctions, whatever, versus the private sales of these cards. You know what I mean? And how there's some people kind of getting into the game of getting people to contact them when a big card gets hit, and then they're going and shopping it out or whatever. It does feel like the game's changing a little bit about how to acquire this low numbered color.
In what way? Like, in what way, in your mind?
Do you ever see a super go on a public platform?
Rarely. I mean, you saw the Slade go on auction. You're rarely seeing it because somebody is snagging it. I mean, that's a big part due to social media too.
I think it's social media, but I think it's the breaking platforms too. I think you've got these breakers that are breaking like used to be some guy would open a box with his dad in the middle of Oklahoma or whatever, and nobody knew he had the card.
Well, yeah, breakers and social combination.
Now he opens it live, and it's like boom, and so these cards never really come to market. And it's interesting when you consider that against like the James Wood Super that people talk about, like that card's never surfaced. I think the Judge Super has never surfaced.
It's all private. No, it has. Yeah. It has.
Oh, the Judge Super has?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did it? I mean, I think people talk all the time too about the Steph Curry's that way, like his 2009 rookie one never surfaced. So it's really interesting to me about like getting ahead of the game and how do you get into acquiring these cards? Like you guys have the market cornered. Like you two guys are two of the bigger buyers.
That's one of the things that I've kind of prided myself on, and is how I'm like the majority of the cards that I'm acquiring are in the way that you're just describing, right? Like there's cards I'll buy on eBay or on auction or whatnot, but the majority of this true color or supers, reds, or even oranges to that point is to kind of just being in the know in the breaking game and, having relationships with some of the breakers, whether I'm in there breaking or not. Having relationships with them goes a long way. I have friends that are in these breaks or on Whatnot or Fanatics Live that will text me when something is hit. So whether I'm in there or not, I'm getting a message like, yo, this just hit. Here's the buyer. And they're on it for me. You know what I mean? And I'll hook them up on the side. I don't want to say like a finder's fee. These are friends, but like I'll take care of them. And so you have to be on the lookout for that. So I just pray that shit doesn't happen when I'm at the zoo.
True that.
Because it's stressful. No, but in all seriousness, like that is like as soon as something is hit, it's like to the races. You know what I mean? Like if right now the Connor Griffin Super was hit, it's like you have to get on that, man, because that thing's not selling publicly, like on eBay. You know what I mean? Like it's just not. It's either the guy's grading it or...
I would love nothing more than to go to my local card shop, my LCS, and open a box of 24 Bowman and hit the Sebastian Walcott Super.
Send that wire info over.
And not tell you, and just post it on eBay. And let you
man. I'd kill you.
I know you would.
Can you imagine that?
They fly into
and I was like, oh, shit, who had that? It's House. What the...
Just fielding offers, man. Just fielding offers.
Yeah, just testing the market out, man. Just testing the market. It's like, man, this podcast went down real
guys,
quick.
On a separate note, we had talked about this prior to the show, and I do want to get – y'all are going to ridicule me here for this. But if we love those guys we were talking about that we think are going to be the next Google, the next topic I wanted to talk about is, are we crazy to be buying their purples, their greens, and some of their knockoffs? Because obviously the question is, do their prices continue to rise as do the other things? And I think we talked to Matt a little bit about that pre-show as well. And the answer is yes, because you take a guy like Bobby Witt, okay, and Bobby Witt does not have a true green that I see, okay? As I've never bought Bobby Witt's true green, but I don't think it exists. It appears to be a green shimmer, Okay, and the most recent Bobby Witt green shimmer. Actually, let me see. No, he does have a true Bobby Witt green sold for $5,000. Okay, back in April. PSA 10, a PSA 10.
In a 10?
While ago, as I'm looking back
Damn.
here, a BGS 9 back in 20. Let's see when that was. Back in 22 was trading for like $1,000-$1,200. So, you're seeing this guy, as his prices have gone up, the money can be made in these other cards. So you've got an opportunity right now, and you're looking at this release. My question to y'all is it a bad decision if you believe this guy is going to be the Google stock? You believe he's going to be the Meta stock. You believe he's going to be the Microsoft stock of players coming up. Is it a bad idea? Like Kern, you did it with Walcott. You love that guy, and you bought everything in existence. You don't normally do that. So my question is that a smart play to buy everything out there that you can get of these guys?
In my opinion, yeah. I mean, if you have conviction and you can take the risk, you have the risk tolerance for whatever your budget might be. Yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, you could make a killing on that. Like, I'm thinking about going out and buying as many Luis Pena base and refractor autos raw on eBay as I possibly can at a good price point because I have conviction in the guy, right? Like, and if I'm doing that and then I'm grading, like I'm holding until that market goes up, like that's what I'm doing. It like you can make a killing on that. There's guys base autos that cost $6 right now, and one day they're going to cost $150. So you absolutely can. You just have to choose them right, and it's a matter of your risk tolerance.
Yeah, and it's time. That's what I love about the hobby too, because a lot of people go, "Oh, I don't have the the money or whatever to kind of get into the market or whatnot." Dude, you can find a base auto and just with $100, and you know what I'm saying? Like that. There's an entry point for everybody in the hobby. Did you? Little Matt had something he wanted to add.
Yeah.
A guy that we all know, up through us in the podcast. He went and bought 50 Sebastian Walcott base autos, 20 refractors, rated all of them, all got 10s. He said he's paying $20 a piece for Walcott base autos.
Shout out Nick Tucker.
Shout out Nick Tucker. And at peak, they were doing like $250. So he 10x his money.
Yep.
And he said he had like 26 PSA 10 Walcott.
That's a great example right there. That's a great example. I wouldn't, but doing that, having that strategy makes sense. But in my mind, what doesn't make sense is going and on eBay right now, you have conviction on a guy and buying, let's say 20 base autos at $25 and expecting to move them a week later.
Yeah, you got
at $50 each. Like you have to be patient.
Nick was buying Sebastian Walcott out the product before any of us were, and he did really well in Sebastian Walcott. We'll say that.
Yeah, the timing too is the key, man. That's the thing. It's like so much of the hobby's been driven by this kind of quick turn. Flippers. We talk about flippers, right? Listen, dude, if you're in this hobby, you're probably flipping something. You might flip it in a month. You might flip it in a year. You might flip it in 5, but you're flipping something. So, like, it's just a matter of your time frame, man. And that's why we can't, people go, flippers are ruining the hobby. No, they're not. They're creating the hype. Here's something, though, that's interesting, though. Think about a Jackson Holiday. Jackson Holiday was unique to me because there was not a ton of holding going on with Jackson Holiday. I felt like people were just churning his cards, so he had comps constantly, right? Boom, 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 boom. With the stuff we're dealing with now, you're not seeing a ton of comps, man. You're not, because stuff's held longer. And so the valuation in a card that doesn't appear to be liquid,
and that was the end of an unhealthy era in our baseball trading. The Jackson Holiday market was not healthy. That was not a healthy time in our card industry. It was truly where the flippers, the old flippers of football and everything else had come in, and there was no stability to our market. This market we're in right now, where there's people holding and storing and waiting and selling the way we're selling, is so much safer because you're not worried about some guy coming out there tomorrow and needing the cash and stabbing you in the back. It's a lot safer market today than it used to be.
Yeah. And also, I mean, controlling the market is nice as well, right? Like Gary, like Connor Griffin, like I was talking to somebody yesterday, there was a comp for Connor Griffin Gold BGS 9 at $34.50 or something like that last night, and I was like, that kind of, feels like it puts the Reds in like the 20K range, to be honest with you, right? Like, and somebody's like, well, to 9s and 9.5. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, show me the 10.
Yep.
Like, where are the other 2? Like, I decide the price. We decide the price, right? Like, that doesn't matter. So maybe other people have that similar strategy in trying to control that high end market, but it kind of makes
well,
for
and you
less
want to, and you
concept
said this
there,
earlier,
which makes it
Matt, and I
interesting.
wrote this down, and I've been waiting for the opportunity to say this in the show because we've talked about a lot of stuff so far in this episode. But if you really want to know, if you really just at any point, I challenge both of y'all to do this. You really want to know the market on a guy that you are on, and you want to know how hot he is, make an Instagram post like I did yesterday and say, I'm buying Connor Griffin Bowman autos. Guys, I made a post and it had a lot of views. I had 2 people reach out, one with a speckle and one with some off-brand Bowman card that I've never seen from like 2022. Guys, that tells you that people, they don't want to sell them, right? And when you're looking for
Nobody
Sebastian
wants to sell.
Walcott, I was same thing. No one would sell them. Right? Everybody was holding them. So if you really want to test the strength, and all of our listeners can do the same thing, just make a general post, put it out there on Facebook and say, I'm looking. And you will find out when there's not a lot of people replying to the sell, you're onto something.
So for those who can see on our stream, this card is not for sale. It doesn't exist. We don't have it. It's funny. We've got this blue Connor Griffin raw.
Did you reach out on Gary's post?
No, I did not. He was farming. He was sowing seed. But no,
Gary, I got some oranges for you.
We traded for that. Interestingly enough, we found a guy. He had 4 of those. He had no Walcott, so we traded Walcott.
I like that move.
Nice. It's a nice trade up.
Again, nobody wanted to sell it, so we said, "Want to trade?"
So, Kern, putting you on the spot here.
It's interesting.
Is it Connor Griffin now your man, or Sebastian Walcott now your man? How close are they now?
Still my guy, but Connor's right there with him. Not close.
Has Pena entered the love triangle?
It's a love triangle between Luis Pena, Connor Griffin, and Sebastian Walcott.
Did you see him hit his 4th bomb in like 7 games or whatever this week?
Hell yeah, I did. Man, I make sure to not miss an at bat. Watching that at bat, like those at bats.
One thing I do want to say, talking about how it's harder to get into cards and stuff like that, is like sometimes you do have to get creative. And what we did with that Connor Griffin or whatever, when you have a good card, the trade plus cash thing, especially if you've graded a card, you know what I mean, and you're into it at a 9 or raw pricing and it gemmed, and you want to get into a little bit bigger card, the trade plus cash thing is a great way to get into. I'll never forget, we gemmed a blue Jason Dominguez one time, and we traded down. It was a trade plus cash from that guy to us. Dude, we had 2 Churio refractors, 2 James Wood refractor 10s, and cash.
Sick.
And again,
love that.
Time we got $5K for it or something, 5,500 actualized value. We sold off the Woods and the Cheerios when they were in the mid 1,500 range or whatever, and then again rode that wave down, bought the Wood, back. So anyway, just a good tip for like those who listen to the podcast, that trade plus cash or trade down dynamic. You got to get creative sometimes to get your hands on the cards you want to get.
Yeah, 100%.
I know that's not necessarily like Gary, like you're not out there trading cards, but you know what I mean. I think for listen to the show, that's kind of one of the ways I think.
One interesting topic. I wrote this coming in. I didn't even mention this one to y'all. I did text it to y'all ahead of time. Y'all didn't reply, so I think y'all hated it. But I'm going to share it anyway. The top Major League Baseball pitchers right now. Look at this list. Okay, I just noticed this morning. That's why I wanted to share it. Listeners too, because I thought this was interesting. These are the top 15 pitchers that I saw so far based on stats on the year. Number 1 on the list, Tarek Skubal. Doesn't surprise many people the way he pitched last year. I put Skeens up there. Hunter Brown at Houston Astros. I don't know what y'all seen, but he's been doing. It's ridiculous. Eric Crochet, Zach Wheeler, Nathan Eovaldi, Chris. I didn't even know this was happening. I want to say this name correctly. I have a lot of his cards, so I've been holding it. I didn't even know this guy was doing good. Chris Bubic, whatever you say his name for the Royals. Have y'all seen his stats? He's got like a 1.7 ERA through like 70 innings. No. Yamamoto, Max Fried, Robbie Ray, Andrew Abbott, Jacob deGrom, Kodai Senga, Mackenzie Gore, Hunter Green. Dude, you look at that list of names. And so my question was going to be, like, I hadn't even known this. How does that translate to their values? And I'm going to go back and do this research for the next episode. I will answer this question next episode. How much is their value shot up since all these guys are performing? How's their card market doing overall? And then you look at pitchers coming up right now. It's because there's some good pitchers coming up. Chase Burns. You got Bubba Chandler. Like, I'm not dipping the toe much in pitchers. So I want to see with you guys, like, what's the opinion on pitchers now? Because obviously Skeens built that market a little bit. What's the rest of the card market doing with pitchers right now?
Yep. But here's the problem. It's funny. Little Matt is here. He's not at school today. He's texting me. Chase Burns red right now is about a 4K card. Kinsey Gore's red in a 9.5 just did like $700 at auction.
So what does that tell? What does that tell us?
Yeah, it tells you that, the hype out of the product for a pitcher, it cannot be sustained. And again, you look at Mackenzie Gore, he's leading the league in strikeouts, and he's trading at a fourth of Chase Burns right now.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. I asked that question, what does it tell us? And you're right, but like it was really like a rhetorical question. Like I don't know what the hell it tells. Like I don't know why. It just doesn't make much sense to me.
Well, I think Skeens did that to the hobby.
Yeah,
Skeens. I mean, I know at one time we were able to buy a refractor Skeens raw. I want to say it was like $300 or $400, right? It gemmed. The guy we sold it to gemmed it, and that card got up to 2,500 or something. I don't know where it is now, but like a Skeens red. What's a Skeens red do? 15, 20?
no clue.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, it's like Skeens is trade. This is to the hobby. The hobby does get its darlings, and they love those guys until they completely crash and burn. And you can have a guy like Mackenzie Gore, who's not a hobby darling, but he's leading the league in strikeouts.
No,
He'll
Max
never
Fried,
trade
who's
at
killing
what
it with the
cost
Yankees.
trade.
His values they'll go up. So again, it's entry point where you're entering. But look at a guy like Tarek Skubal. His PSA 10 preseason sold at 2,200. PSA 9 sold April 29th for $1,000. These are oranges I'm talking about. I mean, and the dude's he's killing it,
I guess here's the question, because I wasn't around this time. Like the guys that you named on that list who are vets or have been around for a while, when they had first Bowmans, was their market like a Skubal now? Obviously not Skeens, or was it like a Chase Burns? I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know the answer to that. But so
I think it is.
Maybe
I think it's
is
shown
Skeens
again
effect.
what we talked about earlier in the show, which I think for all pitchers going forward, it can happen when a certain type of pitcher pushes a new level. And now the card market can hit that level. You're seeing that with these players. I think that's a key thing in all of this. It's like stocks when they hit a new high. It's like, oh, wow, they've hit a new high here. Now it can get there again and go higher. And that is the way that the card market is working now. It is 100%. The thing about Cags getting to where he's at right now, it bodes really well for Bryce Eldridge, because Bryce Eldridge is coming along, bashing the ball. I mean, now a first baseman's been there, right? And so, I mean, tell me if y'all disagree.
He paved the way. You know what I mean? He said this is what a first baseman's low population color autos get to.
Yeah. I agree.
The question then becomes, it's like, so we've got one of our James Wood refractor autos on eBay. I think I've got it listed at $1,500. We had an offer come in over the weekend at $1,000, which the last comp was like $880. And it was immediately retracted. And I told Matthew, so that was kind of interesting. Well, then we had a guy come back. He wanted to offer like $900 on it or whatever. And I said, no, we're not selling there. And he's like, well, why not? And I said, because James Wood should be priced equal to or better than Jackson Churio at this moment. And Churio's refractors are still trading in that $1,300, $1,400 range, much less a Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz. Those are $2,500. What James Wood's doing right now, like you can really start to see the capacity of a card or a prospect when you kind of look across the spans. And so that's maybe a good way for listeners to start to evaluate when to sell out and what the true ceiling cap would be.
Yeah. And what are CAG's refractors? I just sold one actually in a 10. I think it was like 1850 or something like that.
It's got to be a little bit higher than that right now. Maybe 2K. Little Matt just said 2K.
Yeah.
And he's back here. He just said 2K. So that's crazy, though. If his refractor auto's at 2K, which is in line with whatever, but his black, what did his black just do? 20?
It was a weird situation. May 31st, Golden had two cards that ended on auction. I don't know whether they were in the same auction or not, but there was a True Black PSA 9 with a 10 auto, both same grade, and a Black X-Fractor PSA 9 with a 10 auto. The Black X-Fractor, the True Black finished at like K or something, and the Black X Fractor, same grade, finished at 20K. It didn't make any sense to me. Like, what was I missing here? They were both the same grade. It's like Gary said, like,
it's 100%
like
reversed. Generally, and I've been buying some of these, whatever we want to call them. I've heard them geometric. I've heard them called checkerboards. I've heard them called all kinds of stuff. Whatever we want to call these cards, I bought some of them at different levels: blues, blacks, reds. I bought the J.J. Weatherholt last night red, okay? True reds are probably worth 8 to 9K. That I bought that red last night, $2,500 in a PSA 9. I thought it was too cheap. Yeah, I thought it was too cheap for what it was because generally the checkerboards, which is what I'm going to call it in this instance, are about 50% of value. So if you've seen a true blue go for 700 of a Pena, then a checkerboard would go for 350. And if you look at these comps, that's generally been about the rate. Why the hell would a Caglione go for 200 and something percent of, that makes no sense. Why would it go? It's like it went reverse, because that checkerboard should be 33 to 50% of a true.
Yeah. Very strange.
I'll give you another cool comp on a black for those that are listening. So the kid, Josue Brasinho, the catcher, Detroit, so who's been killing the ball lately. He hit 3 home runs over there or something.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of ours hit his true black in just like a one boxer or whatever. We bought it off of him based on an orange comp, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about this. I think the orange comp was like $750 or what. Well, we put that on eBay at $899. It sold this weekend at $850. And so there's sustainable, comp structure that's going to show us that these true blacks are outperforming the oranges. And I think that's
not in a large way though, right? I mean, what are you saying? Like 10%, 20%? Yeah, which is great because I don't think they were doing that a year ago. I think the popularity is picking up on those. Yeah, they're picking up.
No, they were like even. Yeah, I think true blacks.
I love them. I'm on them.
Like I think they're fully on board with like.
They're clean. They're clean,
and they look great. I mean, they really do look nice. They're very, very clean.
Yeah,
very. Yeah. Clean.
I like them a lot better being out of 10 than 75.
Well, guys, any final thoughts as we wrap up the show today?
I got a thought to the eBay seller, and I got a bone to pick with you, buddy, whoever you are, that list all these cards on eBay. And I go on and I make 5 or 6 offers on your cards. Okay, we're talking about card etiquette here. And I make an offer within, let's just call it 10% of your ask, 15% of your ask. You automatically decline them. Auto-decline. Well, you decline me. Not auto-decline. He just declines me with no response, no counter, no anything. And I go back and look at the cards and you double the price on the buy it nows. I send you a message and go, hey, what's the deal, man? I made an offer on 5 of your cards as a bundle and I made you a fair offer to your ask. And you didn't even counter me, but you doubled my price. Yeah, I had them too low. What? It doubles this price. So, hey, just telling you, I'll never buy from you, pal. That's just wrong, dude. I think that's wrong.
Never buy from you.
It's like bait and switch.
A little Matt in the background goes, "It was me." I think we could have an entire episode on card etiquette because we had a guy the other day that he verbally agreed to a deal on a card and he was waiting on the thing to come in, and then he said, "Well, there was another comp last night that's making me reconsider the value."
No, F you.
Did you put in writing that you were going to do the deal at this number? Honor your word, man. Like, and if you don't,
when you do that, I'm just telling you, like I blacklist certain people on eBay and people on Instagram. When you do that, you got to realize that there's a web in this thing and you don't want to be on the wrong side of the web in the card business. I promise you, because no one buys from you then. That's a bad, you got to treat people the right way, man.
Well, guys, as always, love hanging with you guys. Love doing this. Super bummed we're not going to see you guys at Fanatics Fest, but the National is coming around the corner. We got some big guests lined up. Thank y'all for listening to the Sports Card CEO. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you back next week.